So I want to become a Bollywood actor, and to become an actor, I want to learn how to play characters with a lot of range and versatility. And I think someone who does this so well is Alia. Like, she literally started out from playing like a teen girl in a teenage drama to now playing Gangubai in Gangubai Kathiawadi. Like, the range is insane. And I want to be in movies which have characters like that. And I want to know how to play them really well. And I reckon one of the best ways to level up my acting skills is by learning from the greats. Like, seeing what they do, why they do it, and what makes them so great. So I'm going to be breaking down a scene from Gangubai Kathiawadi to see what Alia did and what made her great in that movie. And then I'm going to recreate that scene. So Gangubai Kathiawadi is a movie directed by Sanjay Leela Bhansali based on the book The Mafia Queens of Mumbai. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, let me give you some backstory here. So basically it starts off with this girl named Ganga who runs away to Mumbai to become an actor with her boyfriend, but then he sells her to Kamatipura, which is like this super shady area. And initially she's like super scared, trapped, and like feels really betrayed. But then after a while, she just accepts her fate and like gets on with her life. And then she starts working with the people there and like develops a really good connection with them. And seeing how bad the living conditions and all that stuff is, she decides to fight for their rights. Overall, she has really good leadership skills and is very strong and powerful. But at the same time, she's also really kind, caring, and is a pretty layered and complex character. So at this point of the movie, Gangu wins the elections to become the president of Kamatipura. And it was super important to her that she won this because now she actually gets some power and influence to change things. I mean, to win this election, she literally battled against people, gave out so many speeches and campaigns, and literally broke up with her boyfriend and had him marry someone else from the area because this area had literally never had a wedding held in it before. Everyone's at this restaurant where she's basically giving a speech to all the people there.
तीन बात बोलेगी गंगूबाई। पहला, लोग हमें बेईमान समझते हैं। कोई बात नहीं। ये बेईमानी का काम करने का ईमानदारी के साथ, पूरे ईमानदारी के साथ।
Okay, first of all, the vibe that she has with these girls is so much more different than when she's talking with Razia or someone else. Razia's her competitor, by the way, the one that was campaigning against Gangubai in this election. Right now, she's talking to them like family, and she can be very vulnerable and like expressive with them. Even though the character's been on such an intense journey throughout her life, the fact that she's still honest and she's not bitter about it, but instead chose to use it to her advantage and help out everyone along the way, makes the character really strong. And speaking of strength, I love how they added the deep voice to Gangubai's character.
गंगू ये प्यार वापस करेगी सूट समेत। वादा है मेरा सबको, तुमको, तुमको।
Which is so much more different from Alia's normal voice, which is a bit more high-pitched and like normal based.
Well, intent वही है कि मैं किरदार को एकदम 6000% authenticity के साथ निभाऊं.
And also the way that she says her dialogues now actually sounds pretty natural for her to have a deep voice. It's not like you can tell that she's straining her voice to completely deepen it and change up her voice completely, or making it like Amrish Puri and DDLJ. Ja Simran ja, ji le apni zindagi. And it's not like the dialogues only focus on a deep voice. They also have a lot of curves and emotions in them as well.
ये बेईमानी का काम करने का ईमानदारी के साथ, पूरे ईमानदारी के साथ।
Which without that, it would sound very monotonous and not really interesting to hear either. And it also adds weight to the character that they did this because Gangubai was initially described as like a small, not really that intimidating type of woman. So that deep voice kind of contrasts that aspect of her personality. And also what makes it even more layered is that initially when Gangubai was Ganga, before she'd even come to Mumbai, her voice actually sounded pretty normal. But then as she moved forward in her journey, even a year in, her voice started getting deeper and deeper and deeper every single time we saw her progress more in her journey.
एक कमली, एक पेन, तेरे पे अच्छा लगेगा।
Also, the way that the dialogues are said with the diction, which is a mix between the Kamatipura diction and the Bombaya accent, like it also kind of adds to her story, the fact that she has a mix of these accents. Like initially when she starts talking with the whole teen baat bolegi Gangubai, she's very casual and relaxed, like she's talking to her best friend. And there's also a weight lifted off her shoulders now that she's finally become president. Like a lot of loose and chill body language as well. Plus she's super comfortable standing in front of all these people and talking because she's actually very confident as a person, even though there's people like Rashmi Bai who hated her and just wanted her to like fail, but she doesn't care. And her face has a lot of peace and happiness in it too. And even though she's very happy and joyful in this line, there's also a lot of micro expressions as well, like how she transitioned from being more laughing and playful to being a bit more serious when she actually gets into the depths of her speech. Like when she's initially saying "Log hame beiman samajhte hain," she's saying that with a lot more carelessness and like, oh, this is what people think of us, instead of saying it as, oh my god, this is what people think of us. I mean, it doesn't make a difference to her. And she's also suggesting that neither should it make a difference to you. And even the way that her lips kind of go down and pout, that she looks a bit pitiful but not resentful of the fact that people think about them like this. But then she goes ahead with the I don't give a damn tone with the koi baat nahi. I guess because the character's over time been talked badly about so many times, and now she's at the point where she doesn't even care about what anyone else thinks about her. And although she knows that other people do kind of care what people think about them, she's kind of encouraging them to let go of that. And to sort of add more weight to her words, she also adds a lot of emphasis and tone and curves into her voice and her expressions as well. Like for example, going from like a really strong tone in koi baat nahi to being a bit more quieter but stronger in ye beimani ka kaam karne ka imandari ke saath. And even though at this point she is kind of feeling a bit emotional because it is a very overwhelming thing that so many people chose her and like supported her throughout the way, she's still going forward with that strength in her character. Because she's like, who cares what we're doing? We're still deserving and capable of living a good life with respect and at least basic rights, right? Plus also raising the eyebrows and lowering the tone of her voice to be even more assertive. And I guess in this scene, her raising her eyebrows even more has a better effect than going from raised eyebrows to then scrunching her eyebrows. Because then scrunching her eyebrows could have made her look a bit more angry or hurt, whereas this kind of makes her look more stronger and more assertive as well.
दूसरी बात, फूल का काम है खुशबू फैलाना, चाहे वो मंदिर में हो या दरगाह पर, कोठे पे हो या कफन पर, खुशबू फैलाने का, घरात को देने का, फुल सेटिस्फेक्शन। हाँ, पर दाम जरूर लेने का। तरक्की तो चाहिए हमें।
So she's very confident in herself and over time realized that she can survive literally anything. And you know, when I watched this movie, I was actually wondering what made this character act and react this way. Like, how come instead of thinking like she's a victim, she instead fought with the situation and became who she is? Especially as this person who's very strong with a lot of leadership as well. Like, where did that leadership come from? Where did all this fearlessness come from? Well, I guess somewhere along the way, she might have created an alter ego, which is also how her name changed from Ganga to Gangu. Like in a way, she might have completely gotten rid of and destroyed that old self and just become Gangu, who's a much more stronger and resilient version of her, and is someone who doesn't really fall into that victim mentality trap. Whereas if she was still acting like Ganga, she might have gone to that path of feeling sorry for herself. The fact that she sort of started new with this whole different persona kind of made her more stronger in that way as well. So she's like, if no one's gonna change my life for me, I'll just change it for myself. But I also think that even though a part of her might feel like she should have seen her family for the last time or that she should have been with her boyfriend, the fact that she doesn't really engage in those thoughts much either sort of helps her get over them, because her main priority is making a better life for everyone here. And also the reason why everyone listening to this speech is so impacted by it is because they know that she's been through this process. Like, they were with her since day one. Like, her vulnerability kind of added to her charm. It sort of made her more human and more relatable, which is why the people that are listening to it are more likely to follow her and be inspired by what she's saying. And that's also why Gangubai is saying it with a more peaceful and calm emotion as well. Like, she's saying everything from her heart. Instead of cramming a speech and being like, okay, I'm gonna say this point, and then I'm gonna say this point, and then I'm gonna say this point, and then I'm gonna have a strategic pause of 1.3 seconds in between so it seems like I have emotions, and then everyone will relate to me. Which, if we think about it, that's probably what Alia's doing because she's acting, but it isn't coming from a place of being strategic and robotic about it, but instead from a place of more emotion. You see, those calculations are still happening, but they're based more on emotion than logic. Also, what I find super interesting about actors acting and filmmaking in general is how that scene probably had like a multi-camera setup. But for that multi-camera setup to happen, Alia probably had to retake that for like quite a couple of takes, right? But it just looks so seamless in the end cut. Sure, you can have 3 cameras playing at once in front of you, but what about that behind scene? She probably had to redo that again and again. And I reckon what also adds more depth to this character is the body language. Here she has a lot of open body language. I mean, even though she's wearing a sari, which when you wear one, you're kind of more mindful of how you walk and how your body language is. Here she's like fully out in the open, like doesn't care, is literally walking however the heck she wants. Like being poised is probably the last thing on her mind. And that also adds to how she is as a character as well, because it shows her to be very careless and carefree.
तीसरी बात, इज्जत से जीने का, किसी से डरने का नहीं, ना पुलिस से, ना एमएलए से, ना मंत्री से, ना भड़वों से, किसी के बाप से नहीं डरने का।
I just love how she's trying to hold back her emotions. Her face and her eyes clearly show that she's been through so much, but she's just trying to put on a brave face and become a good leader for everyone else. Her eyes are literally expressing all of her subconscious feelings, and they have a lot of anger and resentment mixed with a lot of sadness and relief, which makes her character so much more layered as well. And a part of what I think makes actors great is the fact that they can show such layer in their emotion and their performances as well. Even though her dialogue delivery, her body language, her expressions are saying one thing, the fact that just her eyes are revealing such little thoughts makes it so much more better, and also makes it so much more enjoyable to watch as an audience as well, because that also makes you feel like you're connecting with the character on an emotional level. That's what separates the good actors from the great actors. And just seeing this raw emotion in Gangu's eyes literally makes you think about how much this win means to her, because now to her it feels like she actually has some control over how she can impact people's lives. Whereas if the other candidate, Razia won, who was probably in it just for the money and the fame, we all know this impact couldn't have happened. And not just her eyes, but her micro expressions also tell a lot about the character and the situation itself. I mean, you can literally see the journey that she's been on just through her micro expressions. Like in the line, "Kisi se darne ka nahi," not only do her eyes show the journey that she's been on, which has made her the way she is now, but her micro expressions show that fearlessness that she's developed over that journey. And honestly, talking about this type of stuff, especially in front of so many people, would definitely bring back a lot of bad memories for her and make her feel super vulnerable. But she kind of takes herself out of those situations and instead focuses on the people that are in front of her. And in that way, she also inspires them a lot as well. Like she does have a lot of charisma and leadership skills.
अरे जब शक्ति, संपत्ति, सद्बुद्धि तीनों ही औरतें हैं, तो इन मर्दों को किस बात का गुरूर?
Hands down, this is probably the best part of the speech. I love how she says this line with like, "Can you believe this?" and instead encourages everyone to be strong. It's kind of like she's also making everyone come face to face with their fears as well, and instead having them question as to why they even fear this thing in the first place. It's probably one of the best ways you can get someone to think for themselves and change for the better. I mean, she never just accepted the situation for what it was and just hopelessly sat there. She literally questioned why this was happening and why this was impacting her so much. Plus, the way that she says the last bit of "To in mardo ko kis baat ka gurur," she's not saying it in a way that's like, "Women are better than men suck." She's saying it more like, why are we even accepting this as our fate anyways? In a way, she is also angry at the situation, but she's more angry at the fact that everyone just accepts the situation for what it is without even questioning it. Also, another thing which I would love to add is how her eyebrows just twitch together slightly. I honestly don't think Alia fully planned this to that extent that, oh my god, at 5.82 seconds, I'm gonna twitch my eyebrows together 2 times. I just think that she was in that character and in the moment so much that it naturally just happened. Like at that point, it just feels like she's fully acting and being that character from her heart with complete authenticity. Okay, now that we've broken it down, I'm gonna try and recreate the scene. 3 बात बोलेगी गंगूबाई। पहला, लोग हमें बेईमान समझते हैं, कोई बात नहीं, ये बेईमानी का काम करने का ईमानदारी के साथ। पूरे ईमानदारी के साथ। दूसरी बात, फूल का काम है खुशबू फैलाना, चाहे वो मंदिर में हो या दरगाह पर, कोठे पे हो या कफन पर। खुशबू फैलाने का, ग्राहक को देने का फुल सेटिस्फैक्शन। हाँ, पर दाम जरूर लेने का। तरक्की तो चाहिए हमें। तीसरी बात, इज्जत से जीने का, किसी से डरने का नहीं। ना पुलिस से, ना एमएलए से, ना मंत्री से, ना भड़वों से, किसी के बाप से नहीं डरने का। अरे जब शक्ति, संपत्ति, सद्बुद्धि तीनों ही औरतें हैं, तो इन मर्दों को किस बात का गुरूर। Okay, having played this character myself now and having tried out everything that she did, plus I added a little bit of stuff on my own as well. It did help in understanding more about how the body language, the transitions, the micro expressions and all that good stuff work. Plus it was super interesting to try and play a character which is very different from me in real life. To try and learn about the character and who she is and where she's come from and how all that impacts her as a person. And then try to convey all that in a performance. And that brings us to the end of this video. Please like this video, comment down below what you thought, subscribe and click here to see how I would play this Bollywood character.